Good morning, everyone. I just want to have a short little video here, mostly because there's been a strong request to have short little lecture videos and things of that nature. I want to begin by saying that this course is sort of a overview of the field of adult education and adult learning, but that adult learning and adult education is much more robust than what we've even covered in this class. I'll give you an example. As you know, I'm a motorcyclist. I'm over 60, and I love working with my research as well as with my students. Some of the committee work and some of the maintenance work for the college is not so much enjoyable, but equally as important. But I wanted to point out one thing. When I read Stephen Brookfield's book, or that it can be applied to both management as well as teaching. And that the whole notion that a manager is an educator is really true. But I also want to point out that I don't claim, nor have I ever claimed to be the world's best teacher or the college's best teacher or the department's best teacher. In fact, I often question those who claim that they are the best teacher, because I don't know if there is such a thing. There's no one right way. There's no one model of teaching. There are charismatic teachers. There are engaging teachers. But if we're going to measure teaching by transference of information or knowledge, or more importantly, by how education changes one's behavior, then I don't know if being one model serves all purposes. And I really get this when I read Brookfield's book. I've known Stephen for a long time. I'm not close to him, but when we're at a conference, we'll occasionally have coffee together or we'll chat. And I must say that Brookfield is probably one of the most dynamic scholars in the field today. And this book is obviously his most popular, his best read, and he's even claimed one of his most significant accomplishments. But I also know that it's not some of his best scholarship. This is a book from his heart. This is a book based on his experience. If you read deeper into Brookfield's other writings, you'll see that he really has a depth of knowledge that goes far beyond what you see in this book. He truly understands some of the more nuanced theories, the continental theories out of Europe, and some of the social cultural dynamics from a scholarly perspective that just doesn't shine through in this book. This doesn't negate the book. This book just has a different purpose. So I see Brookfield as someone different than being a guru in teaching. I see him as being really one of the deeper thinkers in our field. So that being said, what I'd like to really emphasize here on this final paper, and I can't tell you how much this is important to me when I read your papers, I am looking for your analysis. I am looking for you to build a case, a thesis, using supporting citations, and a well-conceived argument in your paper. So in order to do that in 1,600 words, you have to pick basically one topic, one aspect, two at the most. And you have to dig deep into it. I know that we have doctoral students here, we have master's students in this class, and we have undergraduate students. But especially to those undergraduate students, you are at a distinct advantage. Yes, you're at a disadvantage because you've never had me as a teacher. But you're at a distinct advantage in that you haven't been contaminated by all the other literature in our field. You can think with a fresh mind. You can think with a different perspective. But I am going to be looking for all of you, regardless of where you are in your careers or academic uh, ladder. I am going to be looking for analysis. So pick one point, dig deep into that point, develop an argument for that point. Quite simply, you need an introduction that states what your problem is or your thesis statement is. For example, this paper will explore in depth how Brookfield addresses how the lessons in Brookfield's Skillful Teacher addresses religious minorities. Okay, that's just an example. Or this book will address in depth, or this essay will address in depth how Brookfield deals with the limitations of knowledge and knowledge transfer. Then you're going to develop a short literature review following your introductory paragraph and identify however many references you need, but typically they're between 5 and 10 supporting references. But there's not a steadfast rule on that. And then the bulk of your paper, maybe 800 words, will be on analyzing your thesis toward Brookfield and what you've read in The Skillful Teacher with your literature that you've cited in addition. One does not read John Dewey in isolation. One reads John Dewey in juxtaposition of what they've read before and their own life experiences. And the same is true with Brookfield. One does not read Brookfield in isolation. You bring to it a body of knowledge that you can then synthesize with what you learn in Brookfield. Then after you've done your analysis where you align your thesis and what Brookfield writes with your literature that you've cited, then don't forget to have a conclusion. I've noticed on some papers people don't use titles. A title is much more than saying learning essay for Jeff Zacharakis' EDACE 780. A title is so critical in terms of bringing your reader into the frame of mind that you want them to have when they read your essay. So don't forget to have a title. And probably, the same thing as with grammar and things of that nature. But I think that another really key thing on these papers is that you have a friend or a family member. I've known older students who had some of their teenagers read the paper. It's cool. Worked out really nice for them. And then use your doggone APA manual. There's just no excuse for having APA errors. At least not at this stage in the course, nor at this stage in your academic career. So I want to give you a couple tips on what I do to maintain sanity, and I'll leave it at that. Look at this crazy looking figure. This is my Juju doll. When I first came to K-State, I had some bad vibes from different people who had come into my office. After about 3 years, I was down in New Orleans. I bought this Juju doll. This Juju doll really works. Now, is there scientific evidence to prove that it works? No, but I got anecdotal evidence in that in the 10 years I've had this Juju doll in my office, I have not had a single bad vibe come from a visiting guest. Had difficult moments, but not bad vibes. Just a little teaching technique. If you believe in juju dolls, if it works, use it. The other thing that I like to do is I like to have art in my office because I'm a very sloppy office person. I keep a very neat house, but with my office I keep it very sloppy. So I have different things around my office, that I really like, and different pictures and stuff like that to sort of break up oh yeah, that's my Indian blanket that was given to me by an Osage friend. Anyway, so what that does, what I'm trying to say is that when I'm working, I like to work in an environment that makes me feel safe and comfortable and where I can focus. So that's just another teaching tip. So I've given you 2 teaching tips. Find an environment where you can work and you can focus and you feel good. The other one is my little magical juju doll. All right. On that note, I look forward to your questions and comments. Again, I don't claim to be a perfect teacher. I don't even claim to be a great teacher. But like all teachers, or at least most of the teachers I know, I give you my best effort. On that note, everyone have a good day, and I'll look forward to working with you in the next couple weeks.